The reason you guys aren't selling more stuff is you're not giving them the reality of the situation, because you're not talking to them like an authority. You come in this room and you're broke and you listen to me, you're gonna leave here freaking out like, I better do something or I'm in big trouble. Every one of your phone calls needs to end with them freaking out because they're not doing something and they're in big trouble. It's not that they're gonna be in big trouble, they're in big trouble. Question number one. Do you have $250,000 in cash? Do you? I'm not asking you, you ask them. Pretty sure if you work here, you don't yet, but we'll get you there. Some of you, when you do have that, you'll continue to work here, because where else are you going to make this kind of money, right? It's a great place to make money and reinvest it into things. But for our clients, 99.9% of the people you're talking to do not have $250,000 in cash. Now, they'll say, well, I have home equity. Really? I want you to go down to your local grocer, fill up your cart, and if they scan all your groceries and they say that'll be $300, I want you to hand them the deed to the house and say, can I pay with equity? Because equity doesn't spend. So I'm never impressed with equity. Equity doesn't spend. I'm impressed with liquidity. Now, what I have presented you with here today, sir, ma'am, Mr., Mrs. Caller, is the best plan you've ever heard. You want to know how I know that? Because you're still here. And I appreciate that you've invested money with every other Tom, Dick, and Harry, and Sally, and Susie on the planet, and you've invested in every course that you can possibly invest in, but clearly those courses left you wanting because they didn't achieve the goal, and I know that because you're still here on the phone with me, continuing to look for the next opportunity. So when are we going to stop the charade of pretending we're successful by attending courses and training and everything else? And when are we actually going to start implementing and being successful? Because up to this point, Mr. and Mrs. Caller, I'm so less than impressed with what you've done with your 40 years of life, your 50 years of life, your 60 years of life. Lee, this sounds pretty harsh. I don't know if I could talk to people like this. Okay. Do you want harsh to come from you in truth and in love, or do you want harsh to come from reality where their lights get turned off, they can't pay the mortgage, they can't put their kids through college? Do you have any idea how many people hate the public school system but can't afford to put their kids in private school? So our kids continue to go to public school where they're being indoctrinated with all kinds of weird things. We're not even boys and girls anymore, we're who's and what's. But they can't get their kids out because they can't afford it. They can't afford it. Now, you guys heard me say this a million times. Poor people say I can't, rich people say how can I? So you're telling me, Mr. and Mrs. Caller, you can't afford it. But let me ask you this question. If Lee's Inner Circle were free, would you come? Oh yeah, I'd be there in a minute. Okay, so you want it. The only thing now we need to bridge is how do we pay for it? Because poor people say I can't and rich people say how can I?